Sophocles was a playwright born in 496 BC in Colonus, Greece. He is said to have written over 120 plays in his lifetime, 7 of which have survived to this day. One of these plays is the story of Antigone. Antigone was written as a Theban play, a trilogy of stories recounting the tales of Oedipus and his family, all based on Theban myths. Sophocles was a true genius who shaped writing and storytelling forever with his tales of family, God, government, and tragedy. Greek philosopher Aristotle is quoted as declaring a tragedy a form of drama whose plot is centered on human suffering for the purpose of evoking feelings of pity or fear in the audience or catharsis. Most tragedies follow the same footprints, launching right into the characters and their ensuing problems. A hero, by definition, is a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. While you may initially picture a firefighter running into a burning building, or Superman flying faster than a speeding bullet, the definition of a hero is more complicated than that. A hero can be someone who you disagree with on moral grounds, but can acknowledge they possess courage and noble qualities. A hero does not have to be perfect. So few of us are, but they are a step above. A tragic hero possesses all of the positives of a hero, but with caveats. A tragic hero usually has a wealthy or noble upbringing, a steadfast attitude, and ultimately, a fatal flaw. Their tragic flaw, alongside their ensuing decisions, is what leads to their eventual downfall. There is an unspoken rule of tragic heroes that they do not need to be fully pious. After all, they have flaws just like everyone else. These flaws make them more human, more relatable, and ultimately, even more tragic. Some notable tragic heroes are found in many Shakespearean plays, including Romeo and Juliet, Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby, pictured here meeting his untimely demise, and many more. The play Antigone opens up following a brutal battle where many Thebans were killed, including both of Antigone's brothers, Polynices and Oedicles. After the death of their father and half-brother, Oedipus, it is declared that the two brothers will jointly rule Thebes, alternating the throne annually. After the first year, Oedicles refuses to abandon his post, and Polynices forms a band of men and attacks Thebes. Both brothers die in battle, fatally wounding each other, leaving their uncle Creon as king, the only surviving male in their family. Creon declares that Oedicles is to be given a hero's burial, while Polynices is left to rot where he fell, punishment for betraying the state.
Perhaps you can guess. We have two brothers, both of them dead. And Creon has decreed that a decent burial shall be given to one, but not to the other. Eteocles apparently has already been buried with full military honors, not far short of a state funeral, with all the formalities due to the dead meticulously observed, so that his rest in the underworld amongst the heroes is assured. But Polynices, who died in agony just as certainly as his brother did, is not to be buried at all. The decree makes that quite plain. He is to be left, lying where he fell, with no tears or ceremonies of mourning, to stink in the open, till the kites and vultures catch the scent and tear him to pieces and pick him to the bone. Left unburied, there is no rest for him in the underworld, no more than here.
The play opens with Antigone beside herself at Creon's decree, and she tells her sister Ismene she will bury Polynices, despite the king's orders. Her sister begs her not to, but Antigone carries on anyhow. She is caught. King Creon eventually goes forth with his decree, despite the accused being his niece and betrothed to his son Haman. Antigone revels in her disobedience and refuses to back down. She is walled up into a mountainside crypt to die. It is revealed shortly after her imprisonment that she has committed suicide. Haman has broken into her tomb, and when Creon scolds him, He stabs himself through the abdomen with his sword. Hearing of her son's death, Creon's wife kills herself with a short dagger immediately after. Creon is left alone, with just his loyalty to his state left.
Or on the city. Her death's her own. But there's no place for her among the living.
To my grave, then.
Antigone is a truly tragic, heroic character. Despite knowing she is doomed from the very first scene, one feels impressed by Antigone's strength and willpower. Like all tragic heroes, Antigone has a fatal flaw, her stubbornness. While she deeply believes that what she is doing is the right decision to allow her brother to rest in the afterlife, she does so at the scolding of her sister and the state. While Antigone is the namesake of and protagonist of the Sophocles play, she is not the only tragic character. While so much of Sophocles' play and the Theban cycle have disaster after disaster, there is one other character in Antigone who is the perfect example of a tragic hero: Creon. Even though he is the antagonist of the story, Creon qualifies even more of Aristotle's tragic hero checklist than Antigone does. He's simply doing what he said he would, a man of his convictions, even after trying to coax Antigone out of her decision. Just like Antigone, Creon is tragically stubborn. He's equally passionate and devoted, but his devotion is to the law instead of family. He does not toss his family aside and devote himself entirely to the state, but as the play goes on, he discovers that he cannot have both. A paper written by Sarjana Sastra, titled Representation of Creon's Tragic Hero and Sophocles' Antigone, notes, the controversy about who the tragic hero of Sophocles' Antigone is still remains until today, whether it is Antigone or Creon. In fact, most of the studies, readers, and audiences believe that Antigone is the tragic hero. Most of them concern on the struggle of Antigone fighting against Creon as the representation of men, oppression towards Antigone as the representation of woman. It can be said that they pay attention on feminist issue. It seems that many observers of literature are inclined to choose only one of Antigone or Creon and declare them the winner of tragedy. However, the more layers peeled back into the story of Antigone, the more obvious it is that both Antigone and Creon are prime examples of the tragic hero. The depth that Antigone and the other Sophocles plays has allows us to relate to the characters almost 3,000 years later, enough so it deserves to have two characters crowned as heroes, even if it's the heroes of tragedy. While neither Antigone nor Creon are wrong in their steadfastness, neither is right either. Denying your nephew a proper burial when he was denied his promised year at the throne as your first decree as king, with the belief in place that this will cause his soul eternal unrest, is not a popular opinion. Burying said brother, when there is a law in place saying you will be killed, and then being aghast when you are sentenced to death, also not practical. These characters develop so deeply due to their loyalty, Antigone to her family, and Creon to the law. You can predict how they are going to side on almost any issue. Antigone is so prepared to be a hero, to the point of martyrdom, that she is not willing to consider that she will be leaving her sister alone without a sibling after just recently losing two. The two quarrel often at the beginning of the play, especially once Ismene declares that Antigone is making an unwise decision. Ismene says, "They mean a great deal to me, but I have no strength to break laws that were made for the public good." Antigone, that must be your excuse, I suppose. But as for me, I will bury the brother I love. Ismene, Antigone, I am so afraid for you. Antigone, you need not be. You have yourself to consider after all. Creon even tries to give Antigone a chance to back out of her wrongdoing after being captured and confessing to the burial. He dismisses his guards and asks her, Tell me briefly. Had you heard my proclamation touching this matter? To which Antigone responds, It was public. Could I help hearing it? Antigone continues to goad Creon further, telling him that the people whisper about how she is in the right. In a quickly changing and dangerous political scene, coming fresh off a civil war, this must have been terrifying to Creon. He could not risk letting Antigone go and chance her causing a revolt. He tries to show Antigone the reason her defiance cannot be allowed, but she is unwavering. Finally, Creon loses his patience with her, stating, Go join them then. If you must have your love, find it in hell. Antigone gets sent away to her death chamber, and Haman comes to speak with his father. Creon scolds him instantly, telling him he is better off without this hellcat Antigone as a wife. He soothes Creon's ego, saying his word means everything to him, but tells him how the people in the town muttered and whispered, in the dark, about this girl. They say no woman has ever, so unreasonably, died so shameful a death for a generous act. She covered her brother's body. Is this indecent? She kept him from dogs and vultures. Is this a crime? Death? She should have all the honor that we can give her. Taken away to her cave to die, Antigone refuses to refute her actions, claiming, And I shall see my father again, and you, mother, and dearest Polynices, dearest indeed to me, since it was my hand that washed him clean and poured the ritual wine, and my reward is death before my time. Creon is warned by a prophet how foolish his actions are, but by the time he arrives to free Antigone, it is too late. She is already dead, and so is Haman. Creon goes to pray by the body of Polynices and buries him properly. He tries adamantly to backpedal on his mistakes, but it's too late. Upon hearing the news of her son's death, Creon's wife kills herself. A messenger arrives to deliver the news to Creon as he carries Haman's body inside the castle. To burden you carry, in your hands is heavy, but it is not all. You will find more in your house. Creon, what burden worse than this shall I find there? The messenger says, The queen is dead. While neither character wavers in their stubbornness and their beliefs, during life, they both meet tragedy while standing up for what they believe in, truly steadfast in being the two prime examples of tragic heroes in all of literature. The chorus ends the play, saying, There is no happiness where there is no wisdom but in submission to the gods. Big words are always punished, and proud men in old age learn to be wise.